Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. I know this isn't the most professional background, but bear with, this is literally the only clean space I have on my floor right now, so we're just gonna have to roll with it. Anyway, today I thought I'd talk to you guys about sensory overloads, as a couple of weeks ago I spoke to you guys, or actually probably not, like a couple of months ago, I spoke to you guys about meltdowns, so I thought today I'd follow that up with a sensory overload video and what that is and how I deal with them and stuff like that. So let's jump right in. So the best way that I can describe this is basically, you know, when you're like at work or at school and, sorry, my legs are going to sleep, and you're all trying to like access the same website, or if you're trying to like book a really busy restaurant or a really busy theatre show or something like that, and because there's so many people trying to access that one website, it just kind of crashes. And the website goes down, or there's too many people trying to access the internet, for example. That's basically what it's like for your brain when you have a sensory overload. So your brain is a very complex, very clever machine, very clever, but it's also extremely delicate. And what I mean by that is your brain can only focus on one thing at a time, particularly when it comes to like sensory stimuli and stuff like that. So when you have too much sensory stimuli, or more than one type of sensory stimuli, your brain just kind of panics, because it doesn't quite know what to prioritize and what to focus on, so it just goes into panic mode. And yeah, so for me it's mainly stuff like, certain smells or certain noises that really set me off, or like if places are too busy, too noisy, too loud. I'm mostly okay with like lights and stuff. I know like some people are more prone to like light sensitivity or noise sensitivity or texture, whether that be, taste or touch, or if there's, like for me, if there's like more than one conflicting type, so if there's too much, if there's like noise and smell, or something like that, and it's conflicting, my brain does not like it. And there's certain smells that will always, like pretty much 9 times out of 10 will make me overload, and then there's some that don't really. But obviously, not everything causes me having a sensory overload, because otherwise I'd be in overload all the time, and that'll be exhausting. But it's different for different people, and that's just how I experience it. So recognizing a sensory overload is very important, particularly for yourself. So often people, like for me, I get very hot and bothered, I get very irritable, I get very kind of like pent up, I guess you could say. I struggle to relax, fight or flight kind of kicks in. I get very angry as well, and just very like sweaty, and I get like panic attack symptoms, but I don't get a panic attack. I know some people who do have panic attacks when they have sensory overload. I'm not one of those people. I just mostly get just very like fight or flighty and very irritable, and I need to get out, and I need to get out now, because otherwise I will physically explode. And recognizing what the triggers for you and recognizing the symptoms for you is really important, and that's probably one of the biggest things I could say about this sort of stuff, is knowing your body. So that's really important when it comes to like precautions. So for example, I don't go anywhere without some kind of ear protection, whether it be like headphones, earphones. I struggle with earphones, but I'm trying to kind of like get used to them, or ear defenders, like sunglasses, or some sensory toys, some like comfort items, some stuff that I know that will calm me down when I'm having an overload. And that's really, really important. When it comes to like actually having an overload, if you try and get out of wherever you are, so some pubs will have like a smoking area that has decking, and that's often quite quiet. Some venues will have side rooms, many like big train stations and most airports will have sensory rooms. Or if you're just going to stand outside or go to the public toilets, disabled toilets are usually quite good, because 9 times out of 10 there's no one in them and they're single cubicles, so you don't need to worry about other people. Another thing that's really good is if you get like communication aids. So these are stick man communication cards. I use them a lot and they're really helpful. And there's ones that are like, you know, this one will particularly be very relevant. It says I find this situation overwhelming. There's ones that are like I'm non-verbal, or you know, I'm having a sensory overload. But I find this one covers all bases. And they're good to use when you struggle to communicate because of whatever reason. I will link them below. They are amazing. Definitely go check them out. I'm not sponsored. It's just this thought came to mind. Also, another really big thing is if you can shut out as much sensory stimuli as possible. So if you can, turn the lights down or off, music down or off, you know, or put sunglasses on, put on hearing protection. Try and shut out as much sensory stimuli as possible. If it helps, then use your comfort items, use your comfort stimuli, so your comfort textures or anything like that. I know I always put on my hoodie whenever I'm at home, because it's a nice calming texture. Like it's like sheepskin kind of soft, but it's not sheep fur. And then like I always put on like a calming playlist because it will like slow your heart rate down, and stuff like that, because I find that my heart rate is like a greyhound, like a racing greyhound. One thing that I did want to note is when it comes to like going out and about and being aware of like sensory overload, because I find that the biggest trigger for me is like shopping and shopping centres. And just because, particularly as I live basically on my own, I live with like some other flatmates, but I'm responsible for my own shopping. Shopping is unavoidable, really. And so I always go with headphones, my sunflower lanyard, and my communication cards. But most importantly, I found the hours that like no one goes to. So that's usually between like 7 in the evening, between 7 and 7. So if you can find a 24-hour shop near you, that will be the best, because a sleepless night you can go do your weekly shop. They're stocking up on shelves, so they constantly have stock, and it will literally just be you and the shop workers. So although the lights are still on and everything, it's like a ghost town. It's very apocalyptic, but it's great because you don't have the screaming children, you don't have like the busy rush hour. So if you avoid like midday weekends, and then usually also midday during work days as well, and then between I would say 3 and 5 maybe in the afternoon, they tend to be the busiest times. Or if you just like go to the smaller shops, for example, avoid places like Aldi and Lidl, because I find that they put a lot on their shelves and it's very overwhelming, and there's lots of people and their aisles are very narrow and they're just overall just very overwhelming. Some shops, particularly like during the pandemic, they did this, but I think some shops still do it. And that is either they open up earlier or they have just like an hour during the day or in the evening that is aimed specifically at people with higher sensory needs. So for example, they might turn the music down or turn it completely off, and they'll dim the lights, for example. So it's a lot calmer environment for those who struggle normally with busy shops, and also it's a lot emptier, as they're usually at ridiculous hours. So like an hour before they open, for example. And so I'd recommend you looking up your shops in your area and seeing if they do that. And also getting a sunflower lanyard or some kind of communication aid that you can use when it does get a little bit too much. But if you do have a sensory overload, that's perfectly fine. There's no point getting annoyed at yourself for it. Going to be honest, I never really had them as a kid just because I never went anywhere. So I'm fairly new to the whole sensory overload malarkey, because mine were few and far between, because like I said, I was like a hobbit. I had no friends, so I didn't go anywhere, I didn't socialise or anything. Anyway, this video is turning out to be really long, so I'm going to leave it there. If you have any other tips, put them in the comments below, and I shall see you in my next video. Over and out.